When you think of Bryan Head in 2014, you think of a recreation resort town which caters to hundreds, sometimes thousands of tourists. 100 years ago, however, there were sheep. That didn't stop Charles Adams, the Irish-born son of Parowan settlers, and his enterprising daughter, Minnie Adams Burton, from recognizing the potential for tourism at that early juncture. Charles, who tended the family sheep in an area they dubbed Little Ireland, or the meadows between Bryan Head Peak and Cedar Breaks National Monument, dreamed of building the area's first tourist destination. This dream was realized in 1921 when Charles built a two-story dance hall, restaurant, and inn in the entrance of what is now Cedar Breaks National Monument. The building had a small dance floor on the first level. In the rear sat a kitchen and the serving area for diners who came to enjoy the meals prepared by the locally revered Hattie Heaps, whose fried chicken was sometimes described as the best ever. The second story had an open balcony and 8 guest rooms. 2 guest cabins located on the property provided additional sleeping quarters. When large crowds gathered, they resorted to additional dancing space outside. While very apt to its purpose, by all accounts, it was not a particularly attractive structure. David Burton, grandson of Minnie Adams Burton, recalls his father's account of the building.
They built them out of rough cut lumber that was from the local sawmills, and it was faced the outside of Minnie's mansion was like the scabs off from the logs, and they put that on the outside as the exterior. But it was pretty good sized, actually, from those pictures. It was quite a large structure for the time.
Charles's daughter, Miriam Minnie Adams Burton, was given charge of managing the inn, which served both visitors to the area as well as local workers. Sheepherders, being what they were, they came up with a tongue-in-cheek name for the ugly place with the cute proprietor.
Minnie and her father, actually Charles Adams, entered into a business arrangement where they constructed this inn, and they called it Bryan Head Inn originally. But it came to the name of Minnie's Mansion because she was the one that ran it. Grandma Burton ran it. And so it just became a nickname from all, the people that were fondly called it Minnie's Mansion. And that's why it got its name. But
I'm sure it was a joke probably with Mansion.
Oh, yeah.
It became a summer social center for folks from Parowan, Cedar, and surrounding areas. Rex Burton, another grandson of Minnie's, explains,
But I recall Dad telling us that it was a place of gathering, a place where the sheep herders would gather, and the people would have a stop spot and a place to get away. Its purpose was to establish a place for people to dance and to eat and to rest and to just share experiences. And
one of these dances was for Pioneer Day's celebration on July 24th.
But it was really a summertime recreation, and the mountains, the 24th was the big celebration in the summertime. But they celebrated the 4th there too. They had a rodeo. They set off fireworks off from that north viewpoint, where the north viewpoint of the Cedar Breaks National Monument is now.
of course, the monument wasn't established then,
No.
so that's why they're able to do all those
Yeah,
things.
there's no monument, so they were able to do this. And they had their, rodeo and fireworks, and then dancing. I understand they had an outside floor that they, of rough cut lumber, that they had a wood floor that they used for dancing outside when the weather permitted. And then they had dancing inside, of course, when the weather was cooler and worse.
The dance floor was so busy with people it was hard to move, let alone dance. Minnie enforced good manners, insisting the men remove their hats and not allowing any swearing.
She maintained a good, clean atmosphere. People, there were some of the old timers talk about when they came there, they didn't remove their hat. They were asked to leave, and when they could come back with, better manners, they could come back. There was no swearing. There was none of that. She kind of ran a pretty strict, it was really a clean place.
Modern legend has it that Minnie's also served as a house of ill repute, but old-timers scoff at the notion of a Little Ireland bordello.
Well, it was a place that was of good, clean, wholesome fun and recreation. I mean, she didn't allow cussing. She didn't allow, anything that went on in promiscuity or whatever you want to call it. But It was a place of good, wholesome recreation.
The good, clean fun at Minnie's mansion lasted only 5 short years. The seasons weren't long enough to be profitable, generally lasting only 2 months, and winters were extremely harsh on the buildings.
The snow had a terrible destruction or experience with the building. Of course, it was not made like it is today, and it couldn't withstand a lot of the snow that we used to have at Cedar Breaks, piles and feet and feet of snow, and it was just too hard for them to keep up.
The Parks Service built a lodge at the other end of Cedar Breaks in 1923, providing competition which cut further into the profitability of Charles's and Minnie's venture. The primitive roads didn't help either, making it treacherous for travelers to come enjoy the festivities.
A person came to me and told me that whoever was the last person, probably last group that went into Minnie's Mansion before they closed it for good. But they went in the early winter, an early winter snowstorm. They were able only to take their travel their vehicles so far up the canyon. Then they had to snowshoe all the way into the Minnie's Mansion. So Minnie stayed there as long as she could, and so she was snowed in for a while. And so when they'd leave it each winter, they didn't know what they would find when they came back the next year. And so after 1 year, of course, economics and the roofs falling in after a heavy snow winter, it just wasn't feasible to rebuild, and so that was the beginning of the end, I guess you might say, of Minnie's Mansion.
Heavy snows caused a partial collapse of the building in 1926, and the mansion never reopened. But Minnie's Mansion lives on in Brian Head legend. Charles Adams' vision of a tourist-based economy was eventually realized, and Minnie's Mansion helped pave the way.